On this episode of Old School Monster Life, we get down and dirty with this truck. We're going to make it a period correct stage 1 monster truck. This truck will be a 48-inch tire truck, and it'll have about the same stance as Bigfoot 1 because he wants to eventually maybe put 66-inch tires on it. So we're going to build the truck so it can primarily run on 48-inch tires, but if he ever gets the urge, he can run 66s. So let me introduce you to the Danger Ranger. And a lot of you will right off the bat will say, well, that's not a Ranger, that's a full-size truck. Well, in '77, when this truck was built, Ranger was a trim package. It was the top of the line trim package. So you could have a full-size Ranger pickup truck. Anyway, that's the truck's name. But we're going to take the body off the chassis. It's going to be sitting in the ground right there. And then we're going to roll the chassis inside and start cutting, grinding, and welding. Then I'm going to bring the fenders and the bed inside and stretch the wheel wells out just like Bigfoot 1, and I did the same thing to Earthquake, and put it all back together and get it fired up and get it out of here. I told the guy it'd take about 2 to 3 months. We'll see if we can get it done a little bit quicker than that, but that's where we're at. Let's get busy. Well, as you can see behind me, we're going along pretty good. We got the front clip off, got the front bumper off. We have most of the stuff for the cab disconnected, so as soon as I fight the body mount bolts, we'll be lifting the cab off. And there's where we are now. By the way, it's January 2nd right now, so it's a little nippy out. It's not too bad. It'll be a pretty day, but we're getting there. Old School Monster Life. This is where it starts. Well, as you can tell, we got the cab off now. There it is. So all I got to do is pop the bed loose, and then I can start wheeling the chassis inside and getting it stripped down, ready to work on. Hey, we got the cab and the front clip off. I'm taking the bed off. For everybody that wants to replace the hardware, or they put a new bed on and they can't find the factory Ford bolts, the factory Ford bolts have a real long square section on them, and it better helps the bolt from turning. So if you can't find those, do not put carriage bolts in there, because a carriage bolt only has a square that's like 1/8 of an inch at the top, and it'll spin the sheet metal right out, and then you're just screwed. If you can't find the factory bolts, just go ahead and put regular bolts in it, have a hex head sticking in the bed, and that way you can get the bolts out when you have to, because otherwise you're cutting carriage bolts, and that's just a headache. Body is completely off the frame. We got the frame rolled inside. As I was trying to roll it around, I realized that one or more of the brakes is partially on, so it was even much more fun to roll than normal. But it's in here. I can see I have a little bit of frame repair to do. There's where the body mounts were, they held water, and the body mount holes in the frame are bigger than they need to be, so we got to weld them up. But the rest of it looks okay, and we're going to start stripping her down. Here's what I was talking about with the body mount holes. It's not supposed to be quite that big, and it's pretty thin around here. So we'll weld that up and get it in better shape. Same with the mount over here. You can see that body mount was about trashed, and that hole was only supposed to be about 1 inch in diameter, and it's quite a bit bigger. But everything else looks okay. We're going to start cleaning it off and seeing what else we got to do to it. Here's where the fun begins. Hey, here's something that nobody really thinks about when I say I'm a one-man show. I am the only employee. So not only do I have to get all the work done, but I got to go order steel. And I got to go to the bank. And I had to sweep the floors and empty the trash this morning. Got to do it all. So all the time I'm not cutting, grinding, and welding, I got to do other stuff. So time management. Start early, work late, and try to get everything done in the day that needs to get done. Why don't I hire somebody? I wish I could. The help I can afford, I don't want. The help I want, I can't afford. Simple as that. But that's old school life. We do what we got to do to keep the ball rolling. Hey, we got the front end mostly apart on the chassis. I had to stop and take a break to load up some parts for a friend of mine that had bought them back in July, I think, and he finally came to pick them up. So we had to dig everything out and load him up, and I had some errands to run, so I lost a little bit of time today, but we're still doing good. I got the front end tore apart. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to the back end tonight or just wait until tomorrow, but it was a good day's work so far. We got the body off, we got most of the front end stripped out of it, front axle's out and gone, master cylinder and steering is gone, so here we are. And we still have the back half, gas tank's out, and then the closer we get to the front, the barer it is. So just a little bit more to strip out in the front. I got to take this cross member out. I got to take that cross member out. This used to be a dump truck, or have a dump bed on it. So that was his cross member for the dump bed. It was just a little bit weaker than it needed to be. It's bent. But anyway, and then get the rear end apart. Well, it's official. I worked from dawn till dusk, but it was a good day's work. We got both axles out of the chassis. Tomorrow I have some steel to cut out of the back of the frame, take out the rest of the cross members, and then I can start building the new chassis. So it was a heck of a day, but we got her done. So there is the frame. Tomorrow I'll cut the springs and spring perches out. Like I said, I'll just remove this cross member. It unbolts, that's for the transmission. This cross member has to get cut out, and then this whole welded on disaster in the back has to get cut out. But then we're good to go.